What if a small West African nation just changed the balance of global power? Burkina Faso is leading a new wave, and the world is watching. Africa is rising, and it's not waiting for permission. Discover how Burkina Faso is partnering with Asia to reshape the future. Forget what you know about global alliances. Burkina Faso is forging deals that could shift the rules of the world.
The sun rose over the dusty plains of Ouagadougou, and with it, a sense of possibility that had been absent for decades. Burkina Faso, a nation often overlooked by the world's major powers, was quietly positioning itself at the center of a transformative global shift. This was not merely a local initiative, it was a strategic partnership wave reaching across Asia, with India at its core, reshaping the dynamics of international power while redefining Pan-Africanism for a new era. It began in the corridors of Burkina Faso's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where diplomats, economists, and technocrats had begun exploring opportunities that went beyond traditional African alliances. India, with its rapidly growing economy and history of South-South cooperation, presented an opportunity unlike any other. Its expertise in technology, agriculture, energy, and infrastructure could complement Burkina Faso's ambitions while respecting its sovereignty. The first step was agriculture. Burkina Faso's Sahelian lands had long struggled with climate variability, desertification, and food insecurity. Indian agronomists, equipped with advanced irrigation technology and drought-resistant seed varieties, worked alongside Burkinab farmers. They blended traditional farming knowledge with precision agriculture tools. Villages once reliant on erratic rainfall now produced higher yields, cultivating millet, sorghum, and rice adapted to semi-arid climates. Water reservoirs, built using solar-powered Indian technology, brought reliability to regions that had known scarcity for generations. This collaboration quickly evolved into the energy sector. India's solar technology, adapted for African climates, powered schools, hospitals, and micro-industries across Burkina Faso. Solar microgrids enabled villages to run small manufacturing units and preserve perishable goods, transforming local economies. Young Burkinab engineers trained in India returned home equipped to maintain and expand these systems, fostering a self-sufficient energy ecosystem. Infrastructure became the next frontier. Indian railway and logistics firms partnered with local engineers to design a network connecting Burkina Faso to West African ports, creating trade corridors that bypass traditional dependency on Western-controlled routes. These corridors facilitated exports of processed goods, from cotton textiles to gold, empowering Burkina Faso to assert economic sovereignty. The economic impact of this partnership extended far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Indian investments in Burkina Faso represented a new model for Africa, one where collaboration was mutual, respect was foundational, and dependency was avoided. Indian companies, guided by principles of sustainable development, contributed to industrial parks, digital hubs, and training centers. Burkina Faso became a gateway for Indian innovation in West Africa, while simultaneously cultivating homegrown expertise and production capacity. Cultural and educational exchanges amplified the influence of this partnership. Indian universities hosted Burkinab students in technology, public policy, and environmental management programs. In return, African cultural delegations shared Burkinab music, art, and history with Indian audiences, creating an enduring Afro-Asian dialogue. This was not soft power in the traditional sense, it was the co-creation of a shared identity between rising nations of the global South. Defense and cybersecurity cooperation were also integral. Indian experts trained Burkinab military and cybersecurity units, not in colonial-style control, but in self-reliant systems for national protection. Burkina Faso gained the capacity to safeguard its resources and digital infrastructure, while India secured a strategic partner in the Sahel, a region increasingly vital in global geopolitics. Pan-Africanism, long an abstract political ideal, found concrete expression through these initiatives. Burkina Faso's model inspired neighboring states to pursue similar partnerships. Countries across the Sahel observed the benefits of a balanced, South-South alliance and began engaging with India and other Asian partners to pursue sustainable growth. The continent, long depicted as reactive, now demonstrated initiative and leadership on its own terms. The Indian economic connection was particularly transformative in trade. Burkina Faso established export pathways for processed cotton, gold, and agricultural products to India, creating a market less dependent on Western consumption patterns. Investments in processing plants and industrial zones allowed Burkina Faso to retain value-added production domestically. The partnership demonstrated that Africa could be an equal participant in global trade networks without sacrificing sovereignty. International observers were astounded. Western powers, accustomed to influencing Africa through loans, aid, and conditional agreements, struggled to comprehend the new dynamics. Burkina Faso's approach demonstrated that the future of global power could be reshaped by strategic collaboration grounded in mutual respect, technology transfer, and shared economic vision. Youth in Burkina Faso grew up with a renewed sense of possibility. Schools equipped with Indian technology allowed students to access global knowledge, develop coding and engineering skills, and engage in virtual exchanges with Indian peers. Young women trained in renewable energy, agroprocessing, and entrepreneurship contributed to economic growth while challenging social norms. Burkina Faso's demographic dividend, its energetic youth, became a tangible advantage. Culturally, the partnership was vibrant. Indian art, cinema, and philosophy merged with Burkinabe storytelling, music, and performance traditions, generating a new Afro-Asian cultural renaissance. Cities like Ouagadougou became hubs for festivals celebrating shared innovation, art, and history. Trade, education, and culture intertwined, making Burkina Faso not merely a partner in Asia-focused projects, but a symbol of Africa's renaissance in the 21st century. By the time Burkina Faso's partnership wave reached maturity, its impact on regional politics was unmistakable. West African nations began aligning strategies to optimize trade with Asia. Burkina Faso hosted forums where African and Indian policymakers discussed mutual growth, shared challenges, and cooperative development plans. These summits shifted international discourse from dependency to empowerment, from aid to strategic investment, and from marginalization to influence. India's role was pivotal yet balanced. It respected Burkina Faso's sovereignty, nurtured capacity building, and invested in mutually beneficial industries. The partnership became a model for South-South cooperation, demonstrating that rising economies could support African development without replicating colonial hierarchies. The Burkina Faso-India collaboration inspired similar alliances across Africa and Asia, creating a network of nations capable of negotiating with traditional global powers from a position of strength. Amid all these changes, the human dimension remained central. Farmers who once struggled for survival now cultivated thriving crops. Entrepreneurs leveraged solar-powered factories to expand businesses. Students accessed knowledge and mentorship that previously seemed unreachable. Families in remote villages gained access to electricity, healthcare, and clean water. And the culture of self-reliance, innovation, and pride permeated daily life. Burkina Faso's New Asia wave, anchored in a strategic partnership with India, reshaped the narrative of global power. It demonstrated that African nations could pursue their developmental goals through partnerships rooted in equity, technology transfer, and mutual respect. It confirmed that Pan-Africanism could thrive not as a distant ideology, but as a practical framework for continental leadership in the 21st century. As trade corridors expanded, renewable energy infrastructure multiplied, and technology hubs flourished, Burkina Faso emerged as a symbol of the Global South's resurgence. Its approach challenged centuries of dependency and redefined Africa's role on the global stage. Burkina Faso had transformed itself from a landlocked, overlooked country into a rising hub of innovation, diplomacy, and economic influence, illustrating the power of a strategic partnership grounded in vision and respect. Global analysts began referring to the phenomenon as the Afro-Asian alignment, highlighting the cooperation between African nations and rising Asian economies, led by India. They recognized that Burkina Faso's success was not accidental, but the result of deliberate, forward-thinking strategy. The international community had to reckon with a new reality. African nations, empowered through strategic partnerships and capable governance, could reshape global power structures. The story of Burkina Faso demonstrated that the future belonged not to the strongest militaries or the wealthiest economies alone, but to those who combined vision, collaboration, and the courage to act independently. India and Burkina Faso had created a blueprint for global influence, grounded in mutual growth rather than coercion. And so, the African sun continued to rise over Burkina Faso. Villages flourished, cities innovated, and the nation's voice echoed across continents. What had begun as a quiet wave under mango trees in Ouagadougou had become a tidal force reshaping economics, diplomacy, culture, and Pan-Africanism itself. Burkina Faso's partnership with India was more than a deal. It was a manifesto for the 21st century, proving that Africa, in alliance with Asia, could redefine global power on its own terms.